the opportunity for economic activity of our downtown.
I think we've got great architecture downtown.
Would you identify yourself for the...
My name is George Clark. My wife and I own a business on Madison Street. I think the architecture downtown is a positive thing. It's like there's no place like it. And the places that do have it, one of the strengths, I would say, is the architecture of the downtown.
Architecture. Yes, Mr. Henderson in the back.
There's lots of parking in downtown.
Sorry, you said there's
Lots of parking.
lots of parking. One of the things I'd like to do is, on occasion, maybe poll the audience as to whether they agree with something that might have been said. So I think I would ask the question, all of you who think there is lots of parking downtown, raise your hand. Any of you who think there isn't lots of parking downtown, raise your hand. Pretty close to even. That's interesting. Okay, architecture and parking. Anything else? In the back, John Shannon.
Mayor, the financial district, professional businesses, retail stores.
Sorry, what's your name again?
John Shannon. The financial district.
With the banks.
In what way do you see those as strengths?
It brings people downtown.
Somebody say something.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to strengths if I could.
Okay, Bruce Herb.
Bruce Herb. Irregardless of the feelings of the tax situations and everything else, I think it could be a strength that we are located in fairly close proximity to what is becoming a tourist destination with the Turning Stone. And that what many consider to be a disadvantage of some of the other areas around, we might be able to take part of that and turn it into a strength.
Don Kingsley in the back row.
Mr. Mayor, Don Kingsley. One of the things that sort of bothers me is the fact that the city set up this R3 area, and that encompasses quite a good large area. I think there's probably over 100 homes in that R3 area. It runs down Washington Avenue, Stone Street, Seneca Street, Walnut Street, Elizabeth Street, Main Street, Broad Street, and this will allow, to quote right from the ordinance, the select public and institutional service and retail uses serving the neighborhood and compatible with predominantly residential areas. Now, what I see is that there's no need for that because there's plenty of room in the downtown area. And as long as you have that, you're going to keep seeing people moving into homes in the outskirts and residential areas. And I think that defeats the purpose. If the people are downtown, they're going to go to the restaurants. If they're downtown, they're going to go to the banks. If they're on these side streets in residential areas, you're defeating your purpose as maintaining your downtown area. So I think you ought to take another look at how carefully you select people that let go in this R3 area, because what that does is it detracts from the businesses downtown, in my opinion.
Seeing as I have maybe Mr. Dean.
I think that the unfortunate thing is that some people in the community have complete disregard for the property of others, and those that violate it, it seems like the enforcement isn't strong enough. Peter, you and I were both raised under Murphy's Law, and we had a judge like Vern Whalen, and we know we didn't dare do what's been going on lately.
I just sent a letter to the district attorney asking the district attorney to raise with the New York State District Attorneys Association, or whatever it's called, the fact that there's a lot of offenses that are violations. Violations are the lowest level offense under New York State law. A violation, by definition, can involve a sentence of up to 15 days in jail. Somebody who goes to jail and does what they're supposed to gets out in 10 days. There's no cumulative effect. A person who commits the first violation gets a maximum sentence of 15 days. A person who commits their 25th violation still gets a maximum of 15 days. No matter, that's not, and no judge has any discretion over that. So I'm also going to be communicating with the New York State Conference of Mayors that see if we can get legislation passed that would allow for some type of cumulative sentencing for violations. And many of the quality of life issues are violations. Malicious mischief, the damage of other people's property can be a felony or it can be a misdemeanor. So there are some things that I think should be done with respect to sentencing, but to a very great extent, what any court or judge can.
Regarding our hotel, Jimmy mentioned some hearsay that he heard why that was held up. You as mayor said, well, we're not sure what that is. I guess my question is, why over all this time, when this is an anchor, a corner anchor downtown that has the name Oneida, across it, should be looked at all the time, that we don't have someone here that's made a phone call that finds out why nothing's being done? Jimmy's hearing one thing, you alluded that it might be something else. Is there really an answer? Do we have anybody within the administration that pops up and makes a phone call and says, what's holding this up? Is there anything we can do?
No, we don't have somebody. We don't have somebody who periodically queries all private businesses in the city for their status,
Well,
or even specific private businesses.
is that something that the business community could partnership? We're all sitting here as business people or a lot of the downtown people. Is that something that could be partnered to look into some of that?
Wouldn't a business development person want to call them? I mean, if they're in charge of business development, I see this big corner, actually, wouldn't they be curious, maybe? Do you have a business development person?
We have a director of the planning and economic development.
Well, why wouldn't they call? My God, you got a corner building that's sitting there empty, wouldn't it be of interest? If that's a title?
How many of the business owners in the city want to get a phone call from any government entity that asks, gee, what are you doing? What is your plan for next week or next month or next year?
That's a little out of focus, Mr. Mayor. We were talking about a corner property that says it sat there for empty forever. You're talking about Joe Blow and his little gift shop down here you're way out of context on this. We're talking about the city, the people that we pay, that we elect up here, ought to be interested in a property that's been sitting there forever with nothing happening. Somebody ought to be interested in it. Or what the hell are we doing here?
I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, Pete,
I've lived here 19 years, that's what I'm doing here.
I want to just follow up and make sure I got the contrast here. I wasn't suggesting that it should be the cities. What I'm suggesting is we're agreeing it's a problem. Should there be a private entity, should be the Chamber of Commerce, should it be, is that something that's lacking, that there needs to be some follow-up?
Mr. Henderson?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have a comment on that, and I think that we've got a whole room full of people here who obviously are interested in downtown and who care about how it happens. I think we, as a society, spend way too much time looking to the government to give us this, do that, take care of this, take care of that, as was just articulated. I think it's time for us to figure out a way to find out what's going on with the Hotel Oneida, to find out how we need to attract, and I don't have the answers to this. It's easy to ask the questions, but not easy to come up with the answers. But I think it's obvious there are enough people who are interested in the future of downtown, so that if nothing else, maybe we can come away from this meeting with a plan to work it, to find a way to supplement the city government with concerned downtown business people and